and Zach in the morning.
This is an official presentation of SDR Insider. Welcome to Mac and Zach in the Morning, your home for all things sales, business development, and beyond. With over 4 decades of combined experience in the field, please welcome your hosts and daily practitioners of the craft, Mark Mack and Zach Bauer.
There we
it
are.
is.
Yeah, got stuck on repeat again.
Nice. Good morning, everybody. Excellent. What's going on? Thursday again, episode 9. Mike Ashman from Lob, another BDR, senior BDR in the trenches, to get his take on what's going on in the SDR world and rock and roll. A short week. How's your week going?
Man, I've been struggling to keep on what day it is. Like it's just going by real quick. Holiday weekends
Too
like
quick.
that. Yeah, like yesterday I thought it was Thursday. Today, like I thought it was
That
trash
kind of like
day.
last
Not.
week. Yeah. Last week was like that a little bit for me. All of a sudden it was Thursday and I was like, fuck, it was just fucking Labor Day. Or no, Labor Day was this past weekend. It was like, it was crazy. It was just so like it went by quick. I don't know. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's quick. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, do you feel like it's tough to get back in the groove, after a weekend like that, or are you ready to rock and roll come Tuesday, well rested?
Yeah, I think so. At least this weekend, because it's happened to me before. But like this weekend, I really didn't do anything. I actually not worked. Obviously, I didn't make any phone calls on Monday, but I pretty much spent half the day behind the computer and sourcing and writing some new sequences and stuff like that. So I was working on Monday in hopes to have a killer week, So
Yeah.
knowing that it was shorter and that I wasn't going to be able to reach as many people, but yeah, this weekend was good. Most of the time that does happen to me. I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday already. It's like you're starting already. Like it's like you're 50 yards back from the starting line, and it's like shit. I got to catch up. Yeah, I feel like that. So
Yeah. Well, good. Well, and I'm glad everything is going well, and we're back in the saddle. So let's bring Michael in.
yeah.
Kick this thing off, shall we?
Yeah, let's lob some shots at Michael Ashman.
All right, here it comes. Ready? Look at
There he is.
that.
I'm sure people say that all the time, right? Is it lob.com?
Lob.com, yes, LOB.
That's awesome. So
sorry that you're getting the Central Time glare just coming right at me right now.
Nice. So where are you calling out of?
Chicago.
Chicago. I love Chicago in June.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I went there twice. I used to go. I used to be in the building products business in the hospitality space and healthcare space. So I used to go to what's it called? The big design show that's at the Merchandise Mart every year in June.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of it all of a sudden. I don't know why. But it was awesome. Like I went there once with my wife and once without it. And I met some of the greatest people. I had greatest time walking around Chicago, sitting by the water, drinking wine at City Winery. And like, it's great in June. And then, I don't wish anybody to go there in like December, January, but
yeah. Running joke is how many winters you made it, not how many years.
There you go.
Exactly, man. It's probably wicked cold. So welcome to the show, man. So we started this SDR Insider thing, and just to talk with some BDRs like we are in the trenches. You know, Zach and I, despite some leadership roles, you know, we're still the type of guys who make calls, you know, and
Yep.
send emails and do the deed, as they say, on a regular basis. So we thought about you know, bringing SDRs and BDRs like yourself on the air to tell us, you know, what are some of your tricks and trades, tricks of the trade that you engage in to prepare yourself for the day. You know, maybe some of your, you know, key phrases you might use for when you handle some objections or whatever. But what I thought was really interesting about you and Lob particularly is it's direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little bit more about what that looks like on a day to day for you.
Yeah, you know, so Lob is a digital transformation for direct mail. We're sending intelligent mail, which is a totally new look at the way that marketers are doing traditional marketing. Normally, it's a siloed process. It's difficult to do. It takes a while. There's a lot of different steps and departments that you have to work with. Lob takes all of those difficulties and brings it all under one dashboard. So you're able to send and execute direct mail campaigns as easy as you would, you know, send out your email campaigns. And what makes it so great is that it's also integrated with the rest of your outreach. So you can send one cohesive message, your texts, your emails, and now your direct mail are all sending the same thing to your customer and is driving higher response rates.
Yeah, man. You know, obviously some of us here are a little older and we come from the time where there was only direct mail. You know, I remember trying to, when I was in the insurance business, it was 1996 and there was no email yet, I don't think, let alone any computers. Like nobody really had laptops or anything like that. And I just remember as an insurance guy, although I hired a couple of telemarketers, but I remember one project I had them do instead of calling was, you know, licking envelopes, you know, like sending them out. And so this was before they even had like that little strip you pull off on the envelope, that sticky strip, you know. I mean, literally licking envelopes.
They
And then we
must have
used
had
to have
that
that
taste in
little
their mouth
thing.
for a week.
Yeah, but then they got smart, right? Because then they got that like little spongy thing, and you could just kind of run the thing across the sponge, and then, which I don't know why it took them years to figure that one out, right? But you know, but then that's what everybody was getting anyway. There was no other way of communicating, right? So it was noisy, right? Or you wound up in the garbage, and because it looked like a letter that you know, was probably sent to 100 million people, sticker, printed. So, do you guys offer any kind of advice or consulting with respect to what you should deliver in a direct mail?
So not exactly. We are the execution engine for it.
Mhm.
We'll make you able to send your direct mail faster and be able to include personalization. So that could help with open rates. We can also share what some of our most successful customers are doing,
Yeah.
and you can take that and do with it what you think works for your company.
Mhm.
But as far as like the hands-on consulting, creative, that is not in our wheelhouse.
Mhm.
We're purely the API engine.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, anybody who can enhance that process and actually get people to start doing it again. You know, I'm a big fan of Dale Dupree and the Sales Rebellion. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's an old school you know, copy machine salesman that developed these like direct mail campaigns. But his thing is like, you know, he literally, like, I actually bought it, the stained coffee stain letter thing. So like basically he'll give you a template and you could create you could create a letter, right? But it already has like a coffee stain on it. And so, like, what is that, right? Well, you know, you think about if you send somebody a letter, usually it'll sit on their desk and eventually they're going to put their coffee cup on it, right? So
Yeah.
his whole concept is like, I've already saved you the trouble.
Awesome.
But it gets them in the door, dude. like ridiculously gets him in the door, right? He has all these other little antics, but they're all kind of what's it, live material. Like either he has like this like brick he sends, but it's like one of those like what do you call it?
Like a stress ball.
Stress ball, but it's a
Yeah.
brick, and he's like, throw this at your copy machine. You know what I mean? Like it's this whole joke thing. And then he has this like crumpled. I did the crumpled letter a couple of times. Like you crumple up the letter and then you send it to somebody, and then like in the first line, you know, you're like, hey Joe, I already crumpled up the letter for you. So you know, but you get their attention, right? And I think just sending somebody a fucking letter these days, excuse my French, just sending them a letter is probably going to resonate, period, right? Especially if they open it, right? So that's the key. Just like an email, like as long as they can get it and they open it, then boom, you know, like you're going to be above everybody else because nobody's doing that. So
exactly.
What are your results? Like, what do you guys have seen? Like, what are some of the stats you guys have talked about internally with respect to stuff like that?
Like results our customer having?
Yeah, like I mean, you know, like that this
like
is
why
coming
direct?
back. Oh, did we get you? We were losing you.
Just got a quick connection. You know, there's
Oh, we're losing him, Zach.
Uh-oh. It looks like the connection dropped.
Okay. No worries. Maybe you could try to bring him back in.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a space for this, you know, like sending people letters. I think the only caveat might be that where do you send it, right? Because if they're not in their office, what are the chances you're going to get a home address, you know?
Right.
Unless you kind of have an inkling that you send it to the office, that they may be hybrid, and then or that they forward the mail to, you know, the appropriate person, perhaps, or like to their home if they it happens to arrive at, you know, Bose or whatever, Kmart, I don't know, whatever you call them.
Kmart.
And then they forward it to the employee that's listed on the letter, then maybe it works. I'd be curious. Are you back, Michael? Yeah, I was just what I was asking. What I was asking was essentially like, I'm curious to know, like, just in general, like the feedback you get from clients, like what is it that like they really love it, or you know that like their clients love it, like what are some of the feedback that you've seen? Like, is this thing coming back around? Like, is direct mail really like an option?
Oh, 100%. I don't think it ever left. I think it became really inconvenient for people to do at scale. And in the world that we're in, personalization is really becoming something that everybody is needing, because otherwise you're just not going to get open rates. The same way that we're doing our email outreach, you have to have a level of personalization to it. So does the direct mail that people are sending. And so not only are they getting better responses from their customers, they're also able to send it out faster and at scale. You know, before Lob came around, traditional direct mail campaigns were taking weeks, sometimes even months. We're spinning it out in days.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So do you have the ability to track, I guess it wouldn't be an open rate necessarily, but the engagement with that, because there's, you know, digital codes or whatever, you know, attached to those direct pieces?
We're able to track it completely through the mail streams, exactly from the point that our marketer has executed the campaign. It'll go all the way through, and they can view it all on a dashboard. Same way, like, are you guys familiar with MailChimp?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So same way that you get those sort of results from MailChimp, where you get to see, you know, where it is, who's getting it, what bounced. But you're taking it a step further with direct mail, because there's steps along the way. Is it going to the printer? Is it in transit? Has it been delivered? All those other steps, you're able to keep track of that.
Oh, I forgot about the printer. So does it help you connect with a printer and then manages the whole process even through a third party like that?
Yep. So we are
Oh, wow.
partnered with 40 of the largest printers in the United States. So this is actually the really nice part. So a company that's maybe based in California and are executing a campaign, you know, it doesn't make sense for them to print their mail in California and send it across the country to New York. If you could just print it in New York, you could send a digital HTML or whatever we get from our customer. It could be a CSV file with their own PDF upload, or if they want to make their own thing with an HTML template, we offer that as well. It's getting printed in New York. And that way it's getting to the customer even faster instead of waiting for a piece of mail to go across the country. Because even if you're using first class, that's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. I would never have thought of that. Obviously, if I did, I'd own Mob. But that's really cool. So tell me a little bit about, like, Michael, what do you like? Obviously, you're a senior BDR there. It sounds like, if you are a senior, then it sounds like you've got a pretty robust team. What is like a typical day for you? Is it like, do you actually, obviously, you guys probably use your own tool, I imagine, but are you making calls? Like, what exactly does a day look like for you?
Yeah. So basically around 8 a.m., 8:30, if I'm running a little late on the workout, I start calling, and I like to do that for maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hour block. Then make a quick pivot, send some emails, figure out are there any customers that or prospects that I want to respond to that I think I'm pretty close to booking a meeting with. Send those a little bit like mid to late morning. After that, take lunch and then do some West Coast call blocks right after that,
Nice.
and finish up with some prospecting. And that's pretty much your day right there.
Yeah. But do you guys, like, do you send out direct mail, like, just show
So
people that it works?
we've sent direct mail before, like kind of like in a one-off to like some prospects before, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of making calls and sending emails.
Yeah. Well, it's always faster, right? I
Mhm,
think that's
mhm,
the caveat there too, a little bit, is that you still have to have that patience for direct mail.
mhm,
And I think today's modern seller you know, wants everything so quickly. And like, I think I probably would be a little anxious sending out some mail, wondering 3 days later if it landed, and like, are they opening it? You know, like,
Yeah, and like I don't know if you've gotten this, but I've noticed sometimes when I'm calling people, and even if I'm calling their cell phone, they're like, "How'd you get my cell phone number?" And they feel a certain way about it. They feel like it's invasive, and that is something that is, you want to diffuse pretty quickly. But if you're sending letters to people's houses, it's sometimes could be perceived the wrong way, much less getting their actual home address, which is hard to come by. I mean, you can send it to the business, but the home address, at least now, I don't think Zoom Info has that.
no.
How how do you like to navigate that when people give you pushback? Like, how do you get my number? That sort of thing.
I'm pretty much just honest with them. Hey, I got this number from a third party. I didn't know that is your cell phone number, but since I have you here, do you think I could just take 30 seconds, let you know why I'm calling?
Nice. Yeah. Do you typically use permission-based opener?
Yes, I'm a big fan of it. I think the 30 seconds ask is great. Right after that, you follow with a pointed question, and you know, based on the response you get, you kind of have an idea right from there how the call's going to go.
Naturally. That's awesome. So are you a 30 seconds? They use 30 seconds?
I like to use 30 seconds. Sometimes the call takes a little bit longer, but
Nah.
like I kind of add, it's like, hey, like, do you mind if I take 30 seconds to explain why? And then if it makes sense, we can talk further.
Yeah. I'm it's obviously a very popular thing, right? 27 seconds, 30 seconds. I don't even use any number specific. I just say, can I take a few seconds if I even use a PBO? But I think what's interesting is that if you give them that time, like if you say, all right, 30 seconds, what a lot of people forget is that they forget that they said that, and they let the conversation go. And
Mm-hmm.
so oftentimes what'll happen is you'll start to have that back and forth dialogue, and you'll go way beyond 30 seconds, and you think like, oh, well, that's what I wanted. Right. And so you kind of like you didn't really stick to your word. Maybe you pitched a little bit that was less than 30 seconds, and then he asked you a question or she asked you a question, and then you had this back and forth and it went longer. And then you ended up not booking a meeting, or they weren't interested, or maybe it wasn't the right time, whatever. When you could have like said, hey, if I tell them 30 seconds, then you take the 25 seconds to tell them that. Then there's some obviously pause and a feedback. You're waiting for a response. How many people actually then say, I appreciate that, unless they ask you a question that involves like a huge diatribe? Why don't most people just then all of a sudden, well, hey, look, I know I caught you off guard. I told you I was only going to take 30 seconds. Use that permission-based opener to drive the call to action, right? Instead of getting deep into it, stop that person. I don't mean cut them off, but I mean just like say, hey, I appreciate your question. I'd love to answer that, but I mentioned that I only wanted to take 30 seconds of your time. Do you think it might be possible we could schedule some time so that I can answer that question more in detail for you when it's more convenient? And I think a lot of people miss that. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the permission based, like 30 seconds or 27 seconds, I personally don't use them, but it's not because they're not effective and they don't work. It's just my personal approach to it. Like I can't say that like in a way that's effective, right?
Sure.
I don't know that most people though, like the times that I have used it, I don't think that the time really ever comes up again if what you're talking about is relevant to them. Like they're going to talk to you, right? So I think that's why so many people uh, do see success with that kind of thing, Michael included. Like, I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you ever have people like push back and say, "Oh, it's only 30 seconds," like quit talking?
What I'll usually get if there's pushback on that permission-based opener is like, oh, I'm in a meeting right now, or like I'm doing something right this second. I can't talk to you even for 1 second. And my pivot is like, well, that's why I'm calling you. Actually, I was actually calling to get some time to talk to you when I'm not catching you in a meeting. And then to touch on what you were saying, that's exactly what I do right after the pitch. I like to think like it's like 3 strikes you're out on a cold call. So right after you get like that first 30 seconds, hey, look, I promised I'd be brief. Do you think we could talk about this at a time when it's a little bit more convenient for both of us and I'm not just cold calling you out of the blue? And, right there, just kind of like, hey, I have a lot of respect for your time. I just wanted to, introduce you really quickly to what I'm calling about. It sounds like it's relevant. Do you think we got to have a conversation when it would actually work for you?
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Like artwork. I love it. It really is. So you mentioned earlier that you get a workout in the morning. Is that 100% every morning you hit the gym, or you got a gym in your house, or what?
So I live right next to a really great trail. So right now I'm able to cancel the gym membership and just go out and enjoy the weather. But once it turns maybe October, November, I'm gonna have to go back to LA Fitness or Lifetime.
Nice.
And yeah, I think it's a great way to get started in the morning. You get your endorphins up, a little bit of confidence right before you hop on the phones.
And then you get crushed on the first call.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, shit. You're like, I was just pumping 400 pounds and now I can't even make a phone call. Or you pumped up so hard you can't even dial. Thank God you could just click. Right? What do you guys use internally? Do you use any kind of call dialer, or what kind of tools do you have?
So we have a really good tech stack, in my opinion. We're using Outreach for our actual execution, Zoom Info for our info, and Sales Nav to actually prospect. Really lean. You can just you can use Sales Nav to get your prospects. The Zoom Info is awesome because you can just open up the tab, select everyone, and honestly, like it's even better now because you can export directly to Outreach into your sequence. So it's never been easier just to get prospects like running through into the sequence, and you're already executing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, so for dialing, you use Outreach, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we also hop on Nooks from time to time. I think their auto dialer is really great as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they have a really great auto dialer. The parallel dialing is a lot though, because like if you have 5 calls running at the same time, you have to like be like staring at your screen ready. But
Yeah.
you know, if you have like 2 calls running parallel, that's pretty manageable.
Yeah. I think it's so there's so much talk around like the parallel experience, right? Being a little quick or some people can't handle it. I mean, I used to think I never had a problem with it, right? But I think it was a lot to do with the timing in between each call, right?
Mhm.
So I could stand there and yeah, the biggest thing is if you are watching that screen, like if you have 2 screens, it's good. So you could put it on one screen and just keep it on that and do your multitasking or whatever on this screen. But I never like sometimes I'd have it on the same screen and then like I'd be waiting and there'd be a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes in between. And so of course, I'm gonna go off of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have all these tabs open and I'm like, all of a sudden I hear the beep and I'm like, hello. Yeah, is this this is Mark Mac calling. Oh, Jim, hey, yeah, hey, how you doing? And it will like
Yeah.
take me a couple of minutes to get to that tab. So the advice I always give is make sure you keep it open on some other screen. But I'll say this, like a couple of weeks ago, I did a demo for Connect and Sell on a new feature that they have, which is doesn't have the live agent, right? So it just connects on live voice, it's called. And I had a really great list. I had all cell phones. And when I tell you 20 seconds, 30 seconds in between calls was too fast for me. Like as soon as I hung up the phone and I clicked next, go, whatever, I mean, in some cases, within 30 seconds to 45 seconds, I was on another call. And it just became exhausting, like you finish the call. Oh, not interested. Okay, great. And then like you hang up and then like less than a minute later, it was another call. And at one point I had like 7 calls in a row and I was just like, I'm gonna pause. Like, it's overwhelming sometimes because you're not used to it. But those kinds of tools though, parallel dialing, I think really what some people don't maybe get is that it's a great onboarding tool. It's a great ramping tool, right? Because for SDRs, one of the biggest problems that I've always talked about or heard about, which is you just don't get enough at bats. If you're dialing manually, whether through any kind of tool or whatever, it's still manual. You're only probably, making probably 12 to 15 dials an hour, if you're having conversations. And so, there's a lot of things wrong with that. But at the same time, if you're not you like I talked to some SDRs and they're like, oh yeah, I had 5 conversations today. What do you mean today? Like all day. And they were calling all day, and that's like, oh my God, five conversations. You got to assume 2 of them are probably wrong number or not the right person. And so what? You had really one good conversation all day. You're not going to convert. And so that's the biggest problem with ramping and improving your skill set is that you just don't get enough at bats. And parallel dialing gives you that at bats so much faster. I don't think you need to be an expert at it. You definitely need to be watching the screen, though. That's for sure.
100%. Yeah, I've had that happen before where it's like it's just kind of running for like a few minutes, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna just handle this one thing really quickly.
Yeah.
As soon as you break eye contact, it's so like, hello, like
Yeah. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I've had plenty of times where I had no idea who it was, or it glitches and like it doesn't come up.
oh my God, yeah.
Like the box don't come up fast enough, and like you're hearing the beep, and like they're there, and you don't have any information in front of you, and you're like,
Not sure who it is.
You're gonna guess the name or something.
So like when you're manually dialing, like it is nice. Like having the 2 screens is essential. Like anyone that's doing outbound that doesn't have 2 screens is doing themselves a disservice. Also having like your own mouse and maybe even like a keyboard, like just so you can actually be like comfortable and able to move quickly. But when you have two screens and you're doing like manual outbound, what I like to do is I have outreach open on the screen in front of me. Second screen is to my right, and I will highlight their name, company, put it on Sales Nav, and just so I have their baseball card in front of me, so I know I'm talking to. If I see something while I'm scrolling through while the phone is ringing, something, just something I can bring up that's casual, just so it's not just, you're not getting pitch slapped. I think that's the new phrase that's going around LinkedIn, is getting pitch slapped. So I don't want to be the person just doing that.
So, but in outreach, do you have a sales nav integration where once you pull up the record, you could see the rest of their, like, you could see their LinkedIn on like a different box on the screen?
So you can connect, like you could like send like a message through outreach that would go through your LinkedIn and send to that person, but like you can't see their profile. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Or at
Yeah,
least I haven't found a
but
way to
there's a
do it.
hyperlink, so you could always click on it and then it'll open,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We had an integration, right, Zach, with Sales Loft, where we had Sales Nav integrated with that for a minute, and it was like, as soon as you got to a client that actually had a LinkedIn page, you'd see a little preview of it, and then you could actually open it up and look at their whole like profile if you wanted. And it was like right there. So in fact, like with Orem, I remember with Orem, it would open Sales Loft contact record and LinkedIn at the same time. That was crazy, because what happens there with Orem, you're parallel dialing, and as soon as somebody picks up, all of a sudden the Sales Loft record is coming up on the screen. So you're actually off of Orem. It like takes you away from Orem for a second. And now the Sales Loft screen is, or the LinkedIn page or the Sales Loft screen hasn't coming up as quick, so you don't know who picked up the phone yet. And it's like, whoa, like some of those integrations actually mess you up with respect to dialing, but they're still amazing just to have them at your fingertips. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of a baseball card. I've never thought about it like that. Like I like having, a little bit of something to go on. But yeah, the baseball card, just some little nuggets of information. You don't
Exactly.
need too much.
well, it's like a gamification, man. Like that just made me think of that. Like I thought that was like one of the cool things about Celex was, or what was envisioned, of course, is to have like those rankings, based on your results, and you have these different monikers, which is just self-explanatory or whatever. But just to like, because think about it from a recruiting perspective, right? If like people who are trying to hire SDRs, like we're eventually going to be hiring a couple of new BDRs. I hope to get some people that are our level or whatever, but it's like, how do I really know? Yeah. How do you really know someone is that good? I like some of these newer things where they like, and I'm probably going to do this too, but like, I'm hiring for SDRs. Cold call me.
Yeah.
Here's my phone number. If you could get through me, not me personally, but like if just the scenario, like if you could do that, then I think that's a great interview, to be honest. If you're hiring somebody to make calls and that's the majority of their job, wouldn't it make sense for you to want to have them cold call you and see how really good they are? I mean, people say they're good, but when it comes down to it, are they really? How do you know? You're going to go call their current employer and blow their spot up? No. So like, how do you know? Like, so do that cold call, or be able to go to like a Celex or some other kind of platform will come out in the future where people are ranked, and here are their results. And then you could see or hear their calls. Yeah. Like I'm almost thinking, Dale, welcome to the show, Dale. Always talking about you, brother, man. My man here at Lob, direct mail. So of course we had to get into talking about the sales rebellion and the coffee stain letter and the crumpled letter, man. But yeah, so like I always just feel like that would be a better approach to hiring SDRs, in some cases.
I like that. I think that would work out really well. You might not get 350 applicants, but the ones that you get, they're taking the initiative, and you're going to get to see exactly how they are.
Yeah. How big is the team at Lob?
We're at 8 people right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you have a story about breaking into tech? Like how did that go? Was there a cold call that you made that got your foot in the door? What was that experience for you?
So, not like a crazy story or anything, but about a year ago, um, I was finishing up school. I was doing an engineering internship, and I was realizing that sitting down and working on AutoCAD all day might not be exactly what I wanted to do for my professional career. And at the same time, a really close friend of mine that I've known over a decade had joined Lob, and he basically just hit me up and he was like, Mike, you would like it here. And he got me in contact with Josh Roth, who is our VP of Commercial Sales. And I kind of was on the fence. I was like, Josh, I'm trying to finish up school, and but this really seems like something I want to do. And so decided to pull the trigger with it. And I'm really glad that I did, because this has been a really fun year.
Yeah, man. Mechanical engineering to sales. Wow. That's awesome. It's like not anywhere like somebody coming at us thinking about that in their life would never be thinking about sales. I find that amazing.
I kind of was into it though. Like my minor was engineering sales, and even throughout college, I was working for a company that did cold calling in the auto industry. So I was kind of like always playing around with the idea, but I was just kind of like sticking to engineering, doing my thermodynamics and all that kind of stuff. And I realized, wow, cold calling is a lot more fun than this.
Can you say that again?
I said cold calling is a lot more fun than thermodynamics.
People, it was so funny. Like last night, I don't remember who said. Oh, Scott. I think Scott Leese was on Whiskey Wednesday last night, and he one of the things he's like, nobody likes outbound. Like he said it like 3 times, and it's like you don't, you do, but you don't. Like you do it maybe out of necessity. Some people do. I think probably me myself and maybe Zach included. I don't know, but we're kind of a rare breed. Like I don't mind it. Like I like doing it. Like I'm conceded to the fact that that's what I'm good at, and I'm going to make my living off of doing that. Now, am I going to do it for the rest of my life? Probably not. Like hopefully, obviously, I like to transmit my intelligence and expertise to people, to other people, and maybe build a team and obviously have them do it. But I'm just good at it. And like some people are, and some people aren't, and some people hate it, and some people just don't have the right perspective on it, right? Like I always talk about this, like it's the first 15 seconds, right? It's that first 5, 10, 15 seconds that people just don't like. Or they are that, and the fact that they grew up thinking salespeople, like it had such this stereotype that people have to be pushy salesmen, or like. And the craziest thing is when I get that, like the other day I was on the phone with this guy called me from a data source, I'll just say. And I did tell him, don't get me wrong, I did tell him to call me back in September because I thought maybe we would consider having another data source than the one we currently have. And he went hard on me. He did. He went Grant Cardone style on me. And I was like, I don't know how else to tell you this, buddy, but I'm not going to. And then he was like, oh, but it's $97 a month. I'll give it to you for $97 a month. I did a little quick math. I'm like, that's the same price I paid 3 years ago. So I don't understand. What are you doing for me with respect to that? Like he was just trying to close me. And I think gone are the days of that, like if you're going to do that, if you're not going to listen and hear what the prospect is saying, you're not going to close the deal.
It sounds like you could smell the commission breath through the phone.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean,
yeah, it's stinky.
In another scenario, like I had a kid, this guy reached out to me on WhatsApp, I think on WhatsApp through one of the WhatsApp channels, and then he hit me up and he has. It was actually for us. It was like being able to promote the podcast. Apparently, he has an agency, and they promote podcasts, and they can get it viewed or get you more exposure and stuff like that. And I was
You didn't take
kind
him
of
up on that?
What's that?
So you didn't take him up on that?
Well, hold on. Let me finish the story. So like I was like I was interested, right? And and I said it. I said, "Oh, I'm interested. Um, can you send me a calendar link?" And I think he's overseas, and so
Mhm.
there was a little bit of communication barrier there. But I clearly said to him, like he was peppering me on WhatsApp and LinkedIn multiple times, and I said, "Hey, man, I got to get with my partner. Give me a couple of days. It's not 100% of prior." I told him I'm interested, but I had some other things going on, and that like give me a week or whatever it was. And he didn't listen. Like he just kept coming at me, like saying, "Hey, can we do, or can we talk? Can you call me?" Oh, that's what it was. He was like, "Can you call me?" And I'm like, "I'm not calling." I asked him to call me, and he's like, "Can you call me?" Something like that, right? And he's in India or something, or
Mhm.
Pakistan, and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I can't call you. I can't. At least I can't call you right now." It's like the middle of the day, and it was like he didn't understand, and he kept coming at me, and finally I was like, "Hey, man, you know what? I'm tabling this. Like, I don't want to talk to you about this right now." I was like, "Give me a week or give me whatever." And he still kept coming at me. "I'm sorry." Then on WhatsApp, "I'm sorry. You're a good man." I'm like, "Okay,
It's
fine."
too
And
much.
then and then like a day goes by, and he's like, and then I get a WhatsApp, just "What's up? How you doing today?" And I'm like, "Dude, don't you understand? Like, whew, like I just was like, I didn't know what to do." And now he's like liking all my posts. Like every time I post something, he's like trying to stay top of mind. So I admire that in a way, but he didn't listen. He didn't really
Yeah.
hear what I said. And that's what I have a problem with. When people don't listen and really hear what you're saying as a prospect, it's a good learning experience to be on the other side of the equation, and to really understand what our prospects that we're calling might actually be thinking, or
Oh,
feeling, and know that you have to really hear and listen. It's very hard. People say, "Oh, I listen well. I actively listen." Well, first of all, the skill of listening is a lifelong lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong. I'm not an expert at it by no means, but I've come a long way since I first started in the business. Um, and what it's taught me is to hear things that maybe a lot of people miss, like tone, intonation, disposition, in people's voices. Like when you could just hear it, it's kind of like, when somebody says to you, when you pitch, right, and then they go, "No, I don't have that problem right now. I don't have that problem right now," or "I don't have that problem right now." It's two different things, right?
mhm.
If they say, "I don't have that problem right now," it's such a slight change in their tone or their intonation. In my mind, I think, "Oh, okay, well, what problem do you have?" Right?
Mhm.
Just the way they said it. And sometimes people miss that. They go, "Oh, you don't? Okay, I understand. When would be a good time to follow up with you?" And totally ignored what that person's problem might actually be that you could potentially help them with, whether that's not with your product or service, but with somebody that you know. So I always wonder, like, it's a lifelong lesson. So what
Totally.
does Michael eat to get himself jazzed up and ready for the day?
Um, so I actually like don't usually have much in the morning. I like to wait for lunch. I think it keeps me a little bit sharper.
Me too.
You know, I know some people like to have breakfast. I mean, I don't even drink coffee. I just like to totally just go in empty stomach and wait till
Nice.
lunch. And you know, maybe around like 11:45, I'm starting to look at that clock. But those first couple hours, empty stomach, I feel like I'm thinking more clearly, and it gets the best results.
I actually agree with that because I don't have a big breakfast. I just have a coffee, juice, and a yogurt, and that's it. And I go rocking. And then usually by like 11 o'clock, my stomach is like, or my gut's like, "Ugh, you need to eat."
Yep.
But hydration and eating right is always key. People don't think about that. We're athletes just as, I mean, not just as much as real athletes, but like you're athletes in the work that you do, and
Mhm.
you're trying to get better, and you have to be well hydrated and well taken care of. And nobody's going to be at their best game when they're hungry.
Totally. And like you kind of have to, I don't see many people come right off like first day in and have phone endurance either. Like being able to sit down and do a 2 hour call block. Like you kind of have to build up to that.
True.
So, Michael, do you have any anything that you know to be true, right? Kind of like a hot take that flies in the face of, I guess the current trends, right? Or thoughts that are out there in business development land.
Um, Not really. I think not to not be controversial, but I think a lot of like what people are saying is correct. You want to have conversations with people like they're people. You want to try to be intelligent with the conversations that you're having. You want to be conscious of their time, and personalization is key. And main thing is, hammer the phones, get the dials out, have the conversations. I've noticed that the more conversations I have, that makes me better at all my other channels. Because when I'm talking to people, I can get more information than I could ever get from someone when I'm sending them an email. And then my emails get better because of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to talk to the marketer in the sense of like, hey, I'm not saying to them, oh, we do personalization, triggering, and tracking. It's more, hey, I'm sure you're looking to get better return on your ad spend and increase your customer engagement and have a more efficient process. Would that be fair? And it's more thinking from their viewpoint. And it's like, and that's the best way to have success in any sort of relationship.
Mm-hmm. Like that. How do you feel like your background as a marketer prior to being a BDR kind of influenced your ability to navigate those conversations?
Um, just because there was like, it wasn't like the same industry, not too much. It was, so basically what I was doing at Chicago Renovation, shout out, that was my family's company. And
Okay.
I realized, my dad didn't really do too much on like large scale, like marketing to a very strong database of people that he had. So it kind of struck me as that we could easily take all these emails, put them into MailChimp, write a weekly newsletter, just helpful tips around the house, and with a small call to action to, hey, if you notice this, you should give us a call because this is a problem that might be beyond you just going to Home Depot, buying a couple things and solving it. This one could lead to a much larger problem. Maybe we should take a look at it. And just being pleasant like that, giving free information for someone to like, hey, the ways to fix your garage motor or clean out
Mm-hmm.
like your refrigerator, like the vents under your refrigerator or the air vents for your air conditioning, or even like a tip, like if you're going to change one light bulb, change all of them so that they all work in the same cycle. This is saving people time. It's providing value so that when a problem does occur, they know who they want to call.
If you change all the light bulbs at the same time, would it be safe to say? Well, I guess you use some more than the others, but I was gonna say, wouldn't it be safe to say that then they all die at the same time too? So like a year
Yeah,
later, you're replacing them all again.
exactly. Instead of like chasing around, carrying the ladder up and down the stairs, every 3 weeks.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're like me, I've got this like lamp thing, this like
Mhm.
snake lamp that goes down the corridor in my upstairs, and there's about 6 lights on it, and only one of them works. So, and it's been
Really?
like that for I don't know, the last 6 months or 8 months. Like we had five, then we had four, then we had three, then we have two. Now there's
Mhm.
only one, but it's actually better because when all 5 lights are on, it's really bright in the corridor and the hallway, and so I'm like I like it with just the one light, but that's
Oh,
probably
okay.
not very energy efficient. I have this whole lamp and it's only one light is on. So I want to get your opinion, both of you guys. I read an article. If you guys don't follow like Bravado or those guys at Sahil at Bravado, I get this email from him, and so I read this article yesterday, and actually it was interesting because it was very basic, but I actually disagreed with a lot of stuff, and I was going to post about it, but I just wanted to see what you think. It's, I guess, taking it out of context because the whole thing's about outbound and calling and cold calling essentially. But he said instead of attempting 100 calls in a day, it's much better to make 20 calls each day to well-researched prospects. What do you think about that?
Like just 20 calls? It doesn't.
Yeah, so maybe he's suggesting that you spend a good amount of time, call it 10, 20, 30 minutes on each research or whatever. And I don't think you can spend that much because then 20 of them
Yeah.
is like 3 days. But say it's 10, 15 minutes and then you make the one call and it's well researched. Boom. I
You could have,
I
you could have
didn't
20 minutes with
delete
that
another
answer.
line before or after that conjugates this comment, but yeah, just the way it is, take it for whatever it's worth.
I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I think that there is a lot of power in having like a tier one list that has all mobile numbers and some prospects that you have like a good talking point with each, and sure, knock that out in an hour and have a really good call blitz, book a couple meetings. But you have the rest of the day still. I don't think you make 20 calls and call it a day.
Yeah, I think my first impression with that was I agree with doing the research and setting up
Mm-hmm.
like 20 people that you know a little bit more about their company, them, and whatever, and that you can have possibly a better conversation. I think the problem is that by the time you do all that research and then you set up those 20 calls, who's to say that they're going to answer the phone?
Exactly.
Right. So I still think you could have those 20 well researched ones done per se, and you can, but you still need to make probably 100 to 200 calls just to get enough people on the phone in order to convert, because you can't just
Mhm.
make those 20, you can't just call those 20 people because probably only one of them is going to pick up the phone.
Right.
Then what?
Mhm.
Just because it's well researched, you're going to wind up scoring a meeting and you're good. Like, I don't know, I don't consider, if I have one conversation and I convert, that's 100% conversion rate. That sounds great, but that doesn't really, like, I didn't get any leads, I didn't get any referrals, I didn't get any business intelligence. I talked to one person and I closed a meeting. I don't really call that a successful day. That would bother me, but I think that's where I understand what they're trying to say. Do the research, you could probably have a higher chance of closing, but if they don't pick up the phone.
I think
That's a really good. Oh, sorry, Zach, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead, Michael.
Well, you made a really good point there. You didn't get any referrals. You didn't get any groundswell information. You didn't get your halo effect. Sometimes some of the best like now that I'm thinking about it, some of the best opportunities that I've sourced come from the halo effect, come from like someone like making a referral or at least telling me what direction to go in. If if I'm just aiming at one person, I'm getting tunnel vision.
That's right.
It's absolutely true. I think that sentiment is entirely misguided about over researching. That's what I'm going to call over researching prospects that you don't know you're going to have a conversation with. Because that's the beauty of a conversation, right? You can learn organically about businesses and what they do. And the thing is, if you've got a good persona and a good problem, statement related to that persona, and you've got that dialed in and buttoned up, then there shouldn't be a need to go super deep, into the little, uh, differences or unique things with these individual companies. There's just not a need for it, especially if you want to move at any kind of volume. Um, I think doing some research is acceptable, but you don't need to spend, 20% of your day doing that and then some. So
Here's another thing from that article. It says first things first. I guess it was like a myth, right? Monday morning and Friday afternoon are out. You don't want to make anyone's day worse. Lunch hours on any day is a risky gambit.
I love this guy. It's like job security. Bring it on. Tell
Uh,
everybody
I
that.
I totally disagree with that. Like I've set 4 meetings on a Monday morning. I've closed. I'm not gonna say million, but I've closed. I think one time it was a couple of $100,000 on a late Friday afternoon, evening. And lunch hours, man, why not? Oh, you're out to lunch with oh, you're cool. What are you eating? I mean, sure, you're not going to probably have a conversation if they're actually out to lunch, but I don't know. I think sometimes somebody's sitting at their desk and they're eating lunch. They're happy to talk to you. I disagree.
What kind of sandwich are you eating?
I actually did post that. I said, somebody said, I guess the other day they said, I didn't confirm who they are, and they're like, yeah, what's this about? Because I'm packing for to go on a camping trip. And I was like, oh, where you going? I mean, that was like knee jerk the first thing out of my mouth. Where you going? Excellent, man. I understand what it's like to try to pack the morning of. What do you got? 4 kids? I hear kids. I heard the kids in the background. I invoked empathy. And I said, I know what it's like to try to get a couple kids in the car. Not a couple kids, but I know what it's like to try to get kids in the car and pack for a trip for the weekend. And I just gave him that courtesy. And I said, hey, I'll talk to you next week, man. Enjoy. And now I have an opportunity to go back and say, hey, how was the trip to? Oh, you went up to Michigan, by the way. And so I think, it's like that. Like, don't underestimate those times, and don't, like Monday morning, Friday afternoon. Totally disagree with that.
I'm on the same page. I mean, it wasn't Monday morning, but Tuesday morning this week I booked 3 meetings. Like
There you go.
right off the long weekend. And even the email bump, if anyone still wants to send it that's listening, if you send to your prospects just, hey, hope you had a great weekend, like just as a bump to your email, they already had a call to action in your first email. They know why you're bumping. You don't even need to do that. Like you can literally just have, hope you had a great weekend, Michael. And I sent 10 of those emails to prospects, booked 2 meetings, right then and there.
Beautiful.
It was great.
You use voice recording at all? Voice memos at all on LinkedIn? Or?
Not too much. No. Why do you think that's like that's a new way to do it?
Well, I was kind of playing off of your small thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so like sometimes I haven't done it in a little while. I'm probably going to try to start doing it again. But when I used to connect with people, I would send them a voice memo and say, hey, John, thanks for connecting. Look forward to, staying in touch here on LinkedIn. Check out some of my content if you like. Otherwise, if there's anything I can do ever, let me know. Peace out.
That's awesome.
And like I did it because like the first time it ever was done to me was from a guy named Larry Long Jr. I don't know if you know him, but like he's a barrel of energy. Like I mean, like the 3 of us could be on the highest of energies, and this guy is like double that, right? Like he's amazing. Like in that case, he goes around the country now, just like helping high school, college kids get jobs, and he's into sports and all this kind of stuff. And right, he's an awesome dude, but when I connected with him, he sent me a voice memo that literally knocked me off my chair. I couldn't believe it. And it's the way he talks too, he's very animated and stuff. And so, but I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to do this. And, I used to do it. It does take tired, especially if you're connecting with like 10, 15 people a day. It's hard to send that many voice memos, but, but I always felt like that might be something, when the live voice is so much more personal than anything else. So, but listen, man, it was great having you on. Love hearing your story. Feel free to come back anytime you like, and anything we can do to help or help promote your business, we'd love to have you back again if anything.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Any last words, Zach, as we wrap up this morning?
Yeah, appreciate you stopping by. It's a good hearing different perspectives always, and learning a bit about direct mail and how that's kind of changing the game, and bringing us into new world of sales. So it's cool.
Check out
Um,
lob.com if everybody's listening.
Yeah, and
LLP.
yeah, give Michael a follow on LinkedIn for sure. So
Absolutely.
cool. Well, this has been SDR Insider. We'll catch you next Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern. And
Later, everybody. Enjoy your day. Have a great week.
so yeah.
Yep.